All right. Heather, thank you for joining me on Pop Culture Unplugged.
Thank you for having me.
So I've been following you for a while now on Instagram and everything. And you've been busy dancing, and then of course you're promoting So Help Me Todd. I noticed earlier today. How would you describe all this for? Because like I said, you've been busy. Were you just on a tour or something like that for dancing over the weekend? What were you doing?
So I teach on a convention on the weekends.
Okay.
It's called
Uh,
Heat Dance Convention. And so our season is usually January to May, and I'm nonstop gone like every single weekend. Obviously, it's changed because I just started working on the show in January. But yeah, I mean, I have a hard time sitting still. So like I get really antsy when I have nothing to do. And so I will fill my time with all the things. And then I'm like a computer and I'll completely crash out of nowhere. I'm like, I won't respond to texts. I won't reach out. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, okay, I have to come back to reality.
so I love how you've done a little bit of everything. You've done like of course Glee. Everybody remembers you from that. You've done the dancing, voiceover work. I saw you worked on a podcast too.
Yeah, I produced a scripted podcast called The Bystanders. We did 2 seasons, and it was a labor of love with my best friends, Ash Lindsay and Jacqueline Hales. We aired our second season in end of July, so it's been a few months, and it's so well received. People love it because, of course, we have Jane Lynch as our narrator, and who doesn't love to hear the soft, soothing voice of Jane Lynch in your ear as you're driving in traffic?
What's next for you now on the bucket list? Do you have anything like you're checking these little things off? What's next for you? What, you have like a goal or something you want to hit?
Oh, do I have a goal? I'm never like I'm never like constantly reaching for the bigger, better, higher, more
Yeah.
scenarios. I'm actually just trying to like encompass everything and balance it, which is like the hardest thing to do and probably impossible. But on my bucket list is definitely I started producing with a podcast, and so I love it. I love what goes into film. So if I'm not necessarily on camera, just what happens behind the scenes.
Mm.
And it gives you such a bigger appreciation for the things that people do off camera, right? The people that like take care of you. And aside from that, I am like in the beginning process of starting like an environmentally friendly like refill service. So, you have like these subscription boxes, right? That you can get these products, these favorites,
Yeah.
these monthly subscriptions. But what we want to do is try and cut waste and cut cost of waste and get rid of the plastics and all that stuff. So just trying to wrap my head around what goes into that. And it's really, really, really beginning. So it's daunting, but yeah, I'm excited.
You're right. You can't stand still. You got to
I
keep going.
I literally just like I on my phone I have a note section of like TikTok ideas and then like pitch ideas, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I get it from my dad. My dad was a workaholic and loved his job, and I'm the same.
There's nothing about grinding away. I see it as a good thing.
Yeah, motivate. I love being motivated. I find it a very positive thing.
Mm. I feel the same way with this show too, not to change the subject, but it's every day I'm like, all right, like I work a job and I do this on the side and I have a family and everything too. And it's like, who can I get on next? Who can I get on next? And I'm always like working.
That's so good. I'm so happy for you.
So let's go back a little bit in time. Was acting always the plan, the future of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I was incredibly shy growing up,
Okay.
like painstakingly shy. I would freeze, and I still wanted to be a star. So like my biggest hurdle was getting over that fear of like crossing over from like knowing what I want, but like having the tools and then being able to execute. And so I did like acting workshops growing up, but I still was like really shy. I didn't do it a ton. I grew up in Arizona, Scottsdale. There weren't a ton of like theater opportunities. We had like one theater program, and I danced so much I didn't do high school theater. So, anyways, once I moved out to LA, it was like the perfect opportunity. I started taking acting classes, which was like a very serious Meisner technique, which is very opposite from what I feel like I represent. So, yeah, I mean, acting for me has always been something that I've aspired to do and still aspire to feel like I have fully immersed myself in the joy and relaxed and comfortability of being in the scene and playing. I'm still always looking for that.
You saying inspiring and everything. Like, who are some of your role models? I'm kind of curious. Like,
As far as
throughout,
acting goes,
yeah, as far as acting goes, that you kind of looked up to, try to study their work.
I love how honest Jessica Chastain is about the industry. And just how open she is with sharing like the experience and the behind the scenes and how long it does take you. Because obviously, you know, our industry is a lot like 95% no's. And even somebody like me who you'd think would like get offers straight out of Glee, that wasn't the case. And so for me, I had to jump shot straight into auditioning and hearing all those no's for so long, and like just how it shapes you into being grateful and knowing that those opportunities aren't always there. So even if you don't want to do that audition that day, being grateful that you even got that audition to do that one page for, you know, an NBC show. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Oh yeah, I did.
I love
Definitely.
Jessica. I think she's definitely inspiring to me.
So for all those years that now you've been in the industry and everything, I know you have people that come up to you, everything, or even like you people that are trying to get into the industry. What kind of advice do you give them when they first start out? I'm sure they've asked you.
Okay, so weirdly enough, I love to shop on Facebook Marketplace because I'm an environmentalist and I like try to reuse and reduce. And so I bought an IKEA piece on Facebook Marketplace. I drove to this girl. I picked up the piece and she's like, "Oh my God, you're Heather Morris." She's like, "I'm obsessed with you. Oh my God, I can't believe you're buying something for me." And she said, "What's your advice for somebody like me?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, how do I answer that in like a really quick moment?" You know, like
Yeah.
I don't, people always ask me advice and it's like, I, for me, honestly, what I've seen work the best for any sort of any genre in this career, whether you're dancing, whether you're a camera operator, whether you're doing background, anything. If you are a genuinely nice person and you're present and you just are happy to be there in a non, what's the word? Oh my God, I'm trying to search for this word. It's like toxic positivity.
Mm.
Okay. So there is such thing as toxic positivity, right? Somebody who is way too positive and it overrides the circumstance, or they're not realistic about their feelings or expectations. Like I told him, like, that's not what we're asking for you here. We're just asking you to be a joy to be around. And that's what I've learned in the industry is like casting, everybody just loves a good person and they'll consistently hire you. Not only if you're talented, but like if you just are happy and want to be there, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I've had guests on that talk about that too. Like even like when they're being on set, like those people that you could tell like they don't want to be there, they're just there to do the work. And you got other people that they don't want to leave, they want to be there all day and work and
Yeah,
work.
exactly. You want to absorb it.
So how did the voiceover thing happen for you too that you've done?
So I haven't done voiceover in a while. I did Ice Age many years ago, over 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing opportunity. Incredible. I was counterpart to Nicki Minaj, who I didn't get to meet, but I was still like her best friend. And then I moved on to doing podcasts. So I've done voiceovers for podcasts, but I haven't done voiceovers for animation. It's the most impossible business to break in, and I can't crack the code, and it's driving me fucking bananas. So if you have advice for me, if you've done voiceover,
I haven't done voiceover. I've had guests on that do voiceover, and they love it. Sometimes they love it more than instead of like doing an actual TV show, because they can just sit at home and record everything and they just send everything
yes,
in.
yes, and I love to like be quirky and silly and play characters and do voices. So
It's amazing.
wow.
So So how do you go from like I mentioned earlier Glee, you played Brittany. How do you go from like a show like that into like now a show like So Help Me Todd, like two different kind of genres in a way? How do you like prepare yourself to jump into a role like this?
Well, being a recurring role or like a guest star, it has its pros and cons. Obviously, you come in there and you're like, everybody's established, they all know each other. They have this rhythm, this groove. Like, will I fit in? Am I gonna, there's almost also an anxiety, like, am I gonna impress them like I did my audition? There's all that goes into it. But again, like I, of course, built myself up and I was nervous to go into So Help Me Todd. Um, they love my tape, but would they love me kind of scenario. And Skylar is the sweetest person in the entire world and is so welcoming. Like when I jumped on Zoom for the table read, the welcome I got from everybody in the table read was so incredible. Scott Pendercast, who's the creator as well, like everybody is so nice. So that is such a blessing for me, is just to be around that. And I kind of got to ease into it too. Like I'm really only in a lot of scenes with Skylar in the first episode. So that I feel like, thank God, I'm not like juggling a bunch of hats and doing a billion things. But yeah, my character's still quirky. I play Judy, who is the downstairs like clerk at the gift shop.
Yeah.
And she serves coffee and like knickknacks and stuff, but she has this like worldly view and she has like 6 degrees and from an online university. So she's just quirky, which I play really well. And she has this like pointed, personable like aura around her. So I do love that she is a opposite juxtaposition of what Brittany is, because Brittany was pretty vain. She was daft, whereas Judy might still be a little bit daft. However, she has 6 degrees from an online university, and it's really fun to play.
What was the description you were given for Judy, like before you did your self tape, and like how did you prepare to like try to get into this character?
Exactly as I just described it. She's pointed, so she
Okay.
says things pretty honestly, and not in a negative way. There's a way you can do it, and especially with a show like So Help Me Todd, because it's fast comedy, and they
Yeah.
obviously want positivity. So auditioning wise with something like that, you can't like if you're going to be an honest character, it has to be like positive honesty, and never like judgy, right? So yeah, definitely pointed and has a worldview, sees the world in a different light than everybody else. That was sort of the outline that I got.
Were you able to be like creative with this character, like try to put your own spin on it or try to change a little bit, like work with the writer or producers?
As far as the writing goes, like I definitely ask, hey, can I change this word here? Because
Yeah.
I remember on Glee with Fox, like the writing was so specific. And if you messed up, you'd have to start, take it back and do the whole thing right. And so just up front, I was like, hey, Scott, if I fluff these words a little bit, or if they come out differently, is that cool? And he was like, oh my God, yeah. So what I've latched on what Skylar does is he'll kind of like um, he'll approve it ahead of time. He'll be like, hey, I want to say this word instead of this word. So that's kind of how I do it. But yeah, I definitely give her more of like a Heather feel. Like she still has to feel authentic to me.
Right, right. That's like the best time that like when you play a character like that too. It's like because you feel like you're connected to it, and then it's like a little bit part of you is in this character.
Yeah, because if not, and you're just playing a character, I feel like sometimes there's like a filter over your face, and so you're not really
Mhm.
like in the scene with somebody. You're trying to just fill this character.
Mhm. So you mentioned also Skylar. I have him. He's coming on the show. I just don't know when yet. We're trying to work out a date because I know they're still filming and everything. But
Yeah,
like
he's
work.
so
Did
busy.
he did he give you any pointers when you jumped on this series with him? Any advice?
No, honestly, he's just like a really great counterpart because he is very present and he's really perceptive. And he's also like the biggest cheerleader, which is so fun to have somebody who's like, that was amazing. I love that, like in a scene with you, doing it back and forth. Um, yeah, he's a really great cheerleader. And his fiance Chloe is just so wonderful. Like such a cute little couple. It just makes me so happy. They're getting married this summer.
So you have a recurring role this season. How many episodes are we expecting to see your character?
From what I know now, I have 4. So I just filmed 206, and then I have a few more because they're only doing 10 episodes this season. So I'm lucky enough I get to come on and do more than one, because usually a guest star is like a 1 episode thing. But
Yeah. Is there a specific episode that have you filmed all your episodes yet or no?
I haven't. No, I go back
Okay.
in like a week.
Have you read all the scripts so you know what's coming up ahead?
I don't.
So you don't even
No,
know what's gonna happen with your
I
character yet.
don't. I don't. I'm like, tell me everything.
I
Yeah.
love it when I have guests on. They tell me sometimes like they don't even get the script until like a day or two before they even film a certain episode, and they'll just go crazy when they're reading it. Is that how you feel when you go
Yeah.
through stuff?
So far I usually get them like a week in advance. So
Okay.
I at least have that, excuse me, going for me. So I'm not like raw straight out the gate, which isn't a bad practice to have anyways. Like getting a script before, it's just like an audition, we'll get like 7 pages and you're like, holy fuck. Like, how am I gonna audition this in a day? And I mean, Todd has so much dialogue, as you've seen in the show. So hats off to him. I mean, not Todd, sorry, Skylar. Skylar
Yeah.
has so much dialogue, and so does Marsha. They have quite big monologues to do. So yeah, I'm just impressed by the talent on that show.
Now they've had a little bit of a taste of a sitcom world too. Would you ever want to like jump into a full-time sitcom if you get your hands on one of those?
I wish, man. I'd love to. I would love to perform for a live audience and just have people there. I mean, it would probably take me like a good week to like settle into the live audience atmosphere, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
landing the jokes at the timing, but that's why you have rehearsals and the multicam aspect of it. I hear it's a grind, but then you get like a week or 2 off, right? Like you work for a bit and then you take some time off and then you work for a bit. So
Mm,
I would love to.
yeah. And these days, not a lot of sitcoms are live anymore.
Yeah. I
So you
mean,
only have like
it's
a
this.
handful that still do it.
At least if like the showrunners or like the writers were there just watching you and like egging you on. I
Yeah.
just need like there's something about being able to act, but then have the energy behind the camera. Like just the availability of somebody giving you live feedback is so nice.
So far, what do you have filmed with Judy? Is there a specific scene that challenged you the most, or like a specific scene that you enjoyed doing so far? Obviously, no spoilers. If you can spin it
Um,
around.
we did a scene in like a nightclub.
Okay.
And this was the second episode. I just left from there. We did a scene in a nightclub, and I was so excited to be there. And like I got to meet Todd, the character Todd's brother Lawrence, in the scene, and it was really fun. And like dressing up was so cute to go out instead of like you have your like everyday wear. But we had to be in a nightclub, so you have to talk like extra loud to be in a nightclub, and I'm always trying to be present. And so I kept kicking myself in the ass because I would start out super loud and then I'd kind of get lower and lower as the scene went on. And so it definitely kicked my ass. And by the end, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get fired. Like I have to remember this fucking note. And I did by the end, which is always great to feel afterwards. And I didn't get fired, thank God. So I'm like, please have me back, please.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. Sometimes these recurring roles could come to season 3 full. You never know. Full time.
Yeah, you never
You
know.
never know. They might like your character. They do that. They do that a lot these days with certain characters.
Oh
The
God, I
shows.
hope so. I love Vancouver. It's such a beautiful little city. And again, like I said already, like everybody's so nice at CBS. So I'm like, please.
So that's amazing. So we have you said mentioned 4 episodes. You've already filmed 2. Your first one's this Thursday. What's next for you now? Any other projects you'll have to tell us about that you have coming up or you're about to work on?
I don't have anything coming up other than teaching. I'm just, back to the grind, back to auditioning and yeah, just being a mom is my full-time job. So
Mm.
trying to afford those children is what I'm going
Oh,
for.
I know. I know all about it. You don't tell me.
Yeah.
Crazy. With the let's jump a little bit into Glee now. Like Glee's been over now for how many years, and people still love this series. What's your thoughts on all this? Because I'm sure fans hit you up online asking you still questions these days.
Yeah, it's fun to see new fans that have come up in the last 3 or 4 years. Like COVID had a huge rise. We went over to
Mm,
Disney Plus, and then I'm still meeting people who had never seen it before and then picked it up, and they're like, "Oh my God, I loved it. Oh my God, I love this show." And it's it's um it's a cool perspective to have, going from being in it and the thick of it and like getting that feedback and being
mm,
almost like overwhelmed by all of it, and then
yeah.
now being where I am today and just like seeing it from an outsider's perspective because it's done and it's in the past, and now I've moved on, I've done other things and lived, had kids and stuff like that. So still hearing it to this day, I think, is just a testament to what kind of magic we brought to Fox.
Yeah. Have you been approached at all for like to do like a con for like autographs to meet the fans? Because that's a huge thing now these days where people want to see stars from former
Yeah,
shows to go on.
I went out in 2022. I went to Dublin and I did a tour out there with Kevin McHale, and that was really fun to see. Max Adler came with me, Kevin McHale, Josh came out, and I actually got to meet the cast of Grease, the original
Okay.
cast,
Wow.
and take a photo with them because they were there as well. And like Cobra Kai was there. Yeah, the fans love it, and especially over there. Um, it's different. We actually have a lot of fans in Brazil and South America, and then a ton overseas as well.
Mm.
So that was a different experience.
What's been like your favorite memory from that show that still sticks to you this day?
What's been my favorite memory? I think just like all the behind the scenes moments and like the inside jokes we had, and just sharing like the downtime, like the scenes are, and the work is obviously so beautiful, but just like, I don't know, I'm all about like peer support and watching my friends perform and like seeing how talented that entire cast was every freaking day, and like day in and day out, and just, God, how lucky were we that we got to watch it. There was 16 of us, 16 cast members. Like
Yeah.
every single person had their own special flavor and taste, and it all worked together. That's still to this day, I think that's probably why fans love it so much, is like you have a little bit of everything, and it's really cool that you can see representation in so many different ways.
Mm. I don't know if you're aware of this. I found it on YouTube the other day. There's a video. If I find it, I'll have to DM it to you. It's one-liners from your character. Somebody has made a little collage,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a lot of those like one-liners and like it's like how did you deliver those one-liners with straight face all those years?
She had to be, yeah, it was very yeah, it was very vocal fry, quiet. Like it was so fun to do because it changed. It's like a sound wave, like the whole scene is
Uh,
doing this, and then all of a sudden it's like all the musical notes stop, and then you just hear this like random line, and then it keeps going. It's like I feel like that's what she was like just this weird beat in the music. um
mm.
I loved it. She was based after Karen from Mean Girls, and Karen has always made me laugh. So
Would you ever, like some of these shows they end and the fans wanted to come back? If they ever called you, would you want to come back to do another similar version of Glee as a teacher or something like that? Would you jump in the opportunity?
I would, yeah. I think the film industry has come a long way, and I think it was a really tough show
Mm,
to do, and I think being in the space that I am now, absolutely, I yearn so bad to be in a musical again. It's like it's the coolest thing to do, is just to
mm,
sing and dance and have fun and spread joy and like touch lives, and that was so magical. And I think we have so many experienced like videographers now, and because when we started, it was like nobody really knew what they were doing, nobody had done a lot of
yeah.
musicals, and so there was like a huge learning curve for all of us. And so having done that and the formula, I think we would have a such better grasp at it, especially as an actor and a performer.
And now we're seeing a lot more musicals getting released in the theaters. We have Wicked coming up in a few months. I don't know if you've seen
All
that
the
or not.
time.
All the time now. It
It's like
feels like every few
it's like
months
a
there's a
part of
musical
our,
coming out.
yeah. Oh yeah, Mean Girls. I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet either.
I want to see it so bad. I wanted to see it in theaters and I didn't get a chance to, and I was really bummed.
Yeah, we bought it on digital, but we haven't watched it yet. My wife is planning to watch it. She wants to watch it one night. So
Oh,
we have it. We just haven't watched it
digital?
yet. I think it's out on digital to rent it now.
I hope it's on Amazon Marketplace. I'm gonna watch it.
Well,
I watched
so
The
yeah,
Color Purple the other day. Oh my God, it's so good.
I haven't watched that yet either. But yeah, I'm a little behind. When you have kids too, it's kind of hard to keep up with everything at once.
Same. I know. I get to travel all the time on airplanes, and so that's my excuse, is because I get to turn on and shut everything out of the world and just turn on a movie.
All right, amazing. Heather, now how can the listeners, the viewer, find you on social media, keep up with you with future projects, the Help Me Todd, or whatever else you got coming up?
So you can catch me on Instagram at Heather Elizabeth. It's confusing. It's Heather with 2 R's, Elizabeth with 2 H's at the end. I've tried to change it. People have told me I could, and I still can't figure it out. Anyways, and TikTok, I am at Heather Morris TV. And that's
Amazing.
it. I don't do anything else.
That's awesome. Heather, thank you for giving us today. We got to get you back on and continue on with
Yes.
future projects.
Go check out So Help Me Todd Thursdays at 9.